You know what's really funny about this? It's sad, but ironic, I guess. Maybe not funny is perhaps not the right word here. Is that the reason why they did this is because Hamas is agreeing to the ceasefires. That's it. That's the reason. They keep saying, we want a ceasefire, and they keep conceding to the additional insane demands that Israel keeps presenting. Basically, what happened in the past day, in the past 24 hours, is that the United States of America and Israel got together and put forth yet another bullshit ceasefire appeal. Okay? They said, oh, we're going to float the ceasefire in front of you. We are going to come to terms with like a reasonable proposal here. We're going to stop this unlimited violence. Okay? Trump sent a peace deal to Hamas. Hamas met to discuss it in Doha, in Qatar, where the U.S. is mediating talks and has a base. The United States has 10,000 troops in Qatar. Okay? And then Israel turned around and bombed them, presumably with U.S. support. This is what Ryan Grims from Dropsite News says. The strike in Doha was aimed at Hamas negotiators who were gathered to discuss Trump's ceasefire offer, according to a Hamas official speaking on Al Jazeera. Much as Trump carried out fake nuclear talks with Iran in order to the Iranian negotiators. Okay? Israel is taking credit for the attack, citing 10-7, though most or all in Doha didn't even know about the 10-7 attack until it happened. The IDF and ISA announcement is that they conducted a precise strike targeting the senior leadership of the Hamas terrorist organization. For years, these members of the Hamas leadership have led this organization's operations that are directly responsible for the brutal October 7th massacre and have been orchestrating and managing the war against the state of Israel. Prior to the strike, measures were taken in order to mitigate harm to civilians, including the use of precise munitions and additional intelligence. The IDF and ISA will continue to operate with determination in order to defeat the Hamas organization responsible for the October 7th massacre. It is, once again, another, okay? Israel went in and bombed Doha, another country, Qatar. Another country, a country that actually gave Donald Trump a bribe too. Turns out it doesn't fucking matter. Okay? Israel did this specifically to the principal negotiators after they had already one of the principal negotiators, Ismail Haniyeh, in Tehran, in Iran. Okay? They are bombing the capital of a foreign country that is supposed to be an ally to the United States of America, a country that is such an important ally to the United States of America that its central command is there for the entire region. Its central command for America's operations in the entire region is in Qatar. Okay? And it seems like the UK also helped by refueling the jets. UK fuel tanker took off from Qatar, refueled Israeli fighter jets that were attacking Qatar, and then landed in Qatar. What the are we doing? Historic Israeli action in Qatar. IDF attacks Hamas leadership in Doha. 1,800 kilometers from Israel with heavy bombs and escorted by drones. Explosions were heard in the capital of Qatar. The negotiation delegation met to discuss Trump's proposal. The attempt targeted Khalil al-Hayya, Zahar Jabarin, Ghazi Hamad, and Bassem Naim. You might recall Bassem Naim from the many interviews that Jeremy Scahill has conducted with him. The operation was conducted by the occupation army in Shin Bet. They can't use Qatari airspace, among other things, without coordinating with the Americans. Americans and British reconnaissance planes were in the sky over Qatar before the operation was carried out. Al Jazeera reporting that Khalil al-Hayya was not present. A Hamas leadership source to Al Jazeera, the delegation was targeted in an Israeli airstrike during a meeting to discuss President Trump's latest proposal. Make no mistake, this brazen attempt is a part of the negotiations. Yemeni drones are moving over a lot, and there are reports that one is near Ramon Airport again. A senior Hamas leader to Al Mayadeen reiterates that all Hamas leadership members in Doha are safe after the Israeli aggression that attempted to them. A leading Hamas source says the movement's delegation in Qatar survived. Reportedly, 10 Israeli Air Force jets were flown for the attempt, releasing at least 12 bombs on the site. Early indications that the violent raid may have a group of foreign workers and some Hamas staff members who were present at the office. Israel is still not given an assessment. Qatar announced a suspension of mediation between Israel and Hamas. Khalil al-Hayya's son was reportedly martyred in the attack along with the office director. Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Qatar all strongly condemned the attack, which means nothing, okay? That means nothing. Remember, Netanyahu prevents government ministers from making statements until further notice. From Khan, There are reports that only the Security Cabinet was informed of the attack beforehand. Barack Ravid confirms that Barack Ravid, IDF's very own, confirms that the Trump admin was briefed on the operations beforehand. Meanwhile, Netanyahu was giving repeated statements saying that this was an entirely independent act by Israel. Okay? The moment the first impacts from a CCTV camera, you can see it here. It's also complete bullshit to say that like Qatar didn't know. America knew this was not an independent attack. There is no way that you can do an independent attack. The UK probably helped as well, according to these reports of the refueling that took place. Nothing Israel does is done without the go-ahead of every other nation involved. And if they were to do such a brazen act of terrorism once again to a pivotal ally to the Western interests in the region, then they would get punished for it. These guys would turn around and they would Israel if that was the case. The expanding scope of Israeli violations underscores the importance of Arab regimes reevaluating their options to confront this American protected recklessness. Ansar Allah press statement. This treacherous crime carried out in coordination with the U.S. administration confirms that no ally is respected by the Americans except the Israeli enemy. The treacherous crime in Qatar reveals the practical involvement of the U.S. in the declared Zionist plan. We warn of the American Zionist project, which spares no one. Those who act otherwise are only deceiving themselves and living in an illusion in all its forms. Now, the refueling might be fake. I don't know. That's why you can't rely on OSINT immediately. RAF tankers use drogue probe fuel prods. Israel jets use boom from tankers. Two completely different methods. Israel also confirmed it refueled its own jets. Now, do I believe that the UK and the American government were involved in this? Absolutely. In terms of reconnaissance, I do believe that. Do I know if they? Do I know for a certainty that they also engaged in the act of refueling? Perhaps, maybe. But once again, we will wait for more reports. Okay. But what took place here did not happen without America's watchful eye. Not only did that not take place without America's watchful eye, I think America did this deliberately, just like Ryan Grimm's assessment here, that they deliberately brought these guys together with a fake ceasefire proposal so that they could bomb the group. My bad, dude. Should have double checked. It's okay. Do you understand? This is almost identical to the Iran situation. Martyrdom of both Khalil al-Hayya's son, Humam al-Hayya, and his office manager, Jihad Labad, and 3 others. We hold the U.S. administration responsible for this attack, says Suhail al-Hindi. The movement had given positive signals regarding the American proposal. The Israeli bombing targeted every free person in this world. We will not raise the white flag, nor will we lay down arms, and we will resist the occupier with all our might. You know what's really funny about this? It's sad, but ironic, I guess. Maybe not funny is perhaps not the right word here. Is that the reason why they did this is because Hamas is agreeing to the ceasefires. That's it. That's the reason. They keep saying, we want a ceasefire, and they keep conceding to the additional insane demands that Israel keeps presenting, and that kind of ups the situation a little bit further. That's it. That's it. That's the reason. Hamas keeps saying, yeah, sure, you can keep your military occupation in the region. Just don't invade. Don't don't show the remaining tall buildings in Gaza City. Israel does it, says you, it doesn't matter. Because their goal is not to release the hostages. I mean, not much it was clear if you have been paying any attention to the situation for the past 23 months. Their goal is to do genocide, and they've been doing it. Yemen, in retaliation, has now fired ballistic missiles towards Jerusalem in the south. Sirens are sounding in Jerusalem and the West Bank settlements. What looks like a Yemeni cluster warhead releasing submunitions. There are reports of many explosions heard across a wide area. This is the Yemeni missile right as it releases. No evidence of exo-atmospheric intercept. So this was likely a successful operation by the YAF. Hamas issues a statement. The treacherous attempt by the Zionist occupation to the negotiation delegation of the Hamas movement in the Qatari capital Doha today is a heinous crime, a blatant aggression, and a flagrant violation of all international norms and laws, which is true. This crime represents an aggression against the sovereignty of the sister state of Qatar, which alongside the sister state of Egypt plays a vital role in mediating efforts to halt the aggression and reach an agreement for a ceasefire and prisoner exchange. The targeting of the negotiation delegation at the moment with the latest proposal by U.S. President Donald Trump was being discussed confirms beyond any doubt that Netanyahu and his government do not want to reach any agreement. We hold the U.S. administration jointly responsible with the occupation for this crime due to its unwavering support for the aggression and the crimes of the occupation against our people. What can Israel do that will cause America and the American government to go, okay, it's a bridge too far? There are less countries that Israel is not currently bombing in that region than there are countries that it is bombing. Okay? What's next? Can they bomb Turkey, another NATO ally? Perhaps. This is what I'm saying. Like, they could, Israel, I think, right now could literally American citizens in the United States of America, and not in like some act of espionage or like a psyop or some kind of false flag attack or whatever. I mean, like deliberately go, we used our drones to American citizens in the United States of America, and the United States of America would now turn around and say, okay, that's too much. They've American citizens in the West Bank, and obviously the United States of America said nothing about it. But I'm saying they could probably American citizens in the United States of America. I think Israel could turn around and me on U.S. soil if they chose to do so, and the American government would never even turn around and say, oh, yeah, it's really, they'd say, it's my mistake, our bad, that we didn't them ourselves. So sorry that we made you an American citizen on U.S. soil. It is insane. This cowardly attempt will not change our clear positions: an immediate end to the aggression against our people, the complete withdrawal of the occupation from the Gaza Strip, a genuine prisoner exchange, and the relief and reconstruction for our people. We affirm that these crimes will not weaken the resolve of our movement, nor will they divert us from adhering to the national rights of our people and continuing the path of resistance until the occupation is removed from our land and our independent Palestinian state, with Jerusalem as its capital, is established. Qatari foreign were not given prior notice, and that they received a call from the U.S. government official as the sounds of explosions were heard. The Yemeni Air Force confirms in a statement that they used a cluster fragmentation warhead in today's ballistic missile attack. Yeah, Yusuf Munayyer says, if you are sitting in Amman, Cairo, Riyadh, or Istanbul, and you just watch Israel strike Qatar, a major non-NATO U.S. ally that Trump just visited and which hosts a major U.S. airbase, you have to conclude that there is little to protect you from the diabolical Israeli rogue regime. I do not believe that this will cause the Gulf leadership. I do not believe that this will cause the Gulf leadership to reconsider their fucking endless loyalty to the state of Israel and to American imperialism in the region. I don't think so. There's also a disgusting Trump statement as well, but let's watch the France 24 coverage first.
Eyes of Doha, smoke was visible from motorways crossing the Qatari capital. Fires broke out after explosions struck the city around midday. Israel quickly claimed responsibility.
At noon today, I convened the heads of Israel's security organizations and authorized a surgical precision strike on the terrorist chiefs of Hamas. These are the same terrorists who planned, terrorist chiefs who planned, launched.
Bro, you're the terrorist. You're an actual literal terrorist. What the fuck are you talking about? Oh my God.
Celebrated the horrific massacres of October 7th.
Hamas officials said the buildings normally housed the group's negotiators in Doha, though it was unclear if they were occupied at the time. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he ordered the strikes in response to Monday's attack in East Jerusalem, which killed 6 people and was claimed by Hamas. His office stressed that Israel acted alone. But Israeli officials told reporters that former US President Donald Trump had given his approval for these strikes. Qatar, a close US ally, reacted sharply in a statement read on national television.
This criminal attack constitutes a flagrant violation of all international laws and norms and a grave threat to the safety and security of Qataris and residents of the state of Qatar.
Iran, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and the UN Secretary General also condemned these strikes. The US Embassy in Doha advised its citizens to shelter in place.
Paula, what is Qatar saying about this?
Well, we have a strong statement from Qatar, as you might imagine. They have issued a statement through their foreign ministry spokesperson saying that this attack is a, quote, criminal assault, also saying that it is cowardly and that it is a blatant violation of international laws and norms. Now, Doha would be furious with what has happened. It's worth pointing out, as Jeremy mentioned there, that the Hamas main negotiator, Khalil al-Hayya, is stationed in Doha. He also met with the Qatari Prime Minister, who's also the Foreign Minister, just on Monday, we understand. And the Prime Minister was trying to push him and urge him to accept this US proposal for the ceasefire hostage deal that was on the table. So there were active negotiations between Hamas stationed in Doha and the Qatari Prime Minister. Now, Qatar has been one of the key mediators alongside Egypt and the United States, and this is certainly a very shocking development. Now, we have seen Israel targeting Hamas leadership in other countries. We have heard repeatedly from the Israeli Prime Minister that nobody in Hamas is safe and they will target them wherever they are. But in the past, they have targeted them in Tehran, for example, in Syria, in the deeper past, in Jordan. But there has not been this kind of attack somewhere like Doha. And also, of course, it was Ismail Haniyeh who was the political chief of Hamas who was assassinated in Tehran. He at the time was the chief negotiator. And if, as Jeremy suggests, it was again the chief negotiator.
I'm destitute and ICE is offering a 50K bonus that would be life-changing. You justify crime because of material conditions. Why is taking that job worse? What do you think? When people are broke and they engage in an act of crime like stealing fucking food, okay, or stealing, I don't know, expensive purses from a store that harms the profit margins of corporations, that's a little bit different than taking a $50,000 signing bonus to become a fucking Nazi. I mean, there are plenty of jobs you could do when you're destitute. Do you think you should be a fucking contracted killer, for example? That's a crime too. The fuck kind of question is this?
For this ceasefire hostage deal that has been targeted, it raises questions once again about whether Israel wants this deal to be done. The timing is very surprising, given the fact that this new US proposal was on the table. The US President Donald Trump had given his verbal approval of it, saying he didn't want to see.
I'm sorry, I just don't believe that Qatar had no fucking prior warning of this kind of incident, considering that, like, they have anti-air defense systems. Okay? They do. The American Central Command is in Qatar. They have anti-aircraft defense systems. I don't think that it's possible for them not to. I don't think that it's possible for them not to, like, be able to withstand this kind of attack without, like, actually fighting back.
Some hostages released one day and then some more the next week. He wanted all hostages released at the same time. That is what this deal is. It was on the table. We understand Hamas was looking at it. So, of course, a good question is, what does this mean for that deal now? Now, another interesting point that the Qatari officials gave in this statement was they say that it was residential building.
State of Qatar, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. So stupid.
That were targeted. These buildings were housing several members of the Hamas political bureau. But the fact that it was residential buildings that were targeted in Doha, again, significant. We don't believe that there was a warning for people on the ground. Was this just Hamas who was impacted in this strike?
Paula Hancock, thank you very, very much. We'll stay in close touch with you. I want to go get the latest from the White House. Kevin Liptak is there for us. Kevin, what are you hearing from White House officials?
Yeah, officials still very much digesting the news of what happened is on the ground there in Doha. According to an Israeli official, the U.S. was notified ahead of time of their plans to carry out this strike. We have not gotten confirmation of that from the White House, and I think that that will be a very critical piece of information as we sort of digest what is happening here. As both Jeremy and Paula have noted, this comes at quite a critical moment. President Trump, as recently as Sunday, said that he thought a deal in Gaza could happen very soon as a result of this new plan that he had put on the table that would result.
This is the Israeli government speaker, okay, speaker of the Knesset, openly threatening the entire region. This is a message to all of the Middle East. This is a photo. This is a video, CCTV footage from Doha, for the record. Make no mistake. They will not. None of these fucking Western operators within the Western media infrastructure is going to turn around and say, this is fucked up. We have to put an end to it. This is the message of a state that is trying to impose hegemony over the entire region. Gratitude is not expected, but giving your support is non-negotiable. Israel stands against the terrorism that threatens most Arab and Western peoples, and we do not expect words of gratitude, but we anticipate support. The reason why they did this is because Hamas is conceding too much, okay? That's why they did it. Hamas doesn't concede, Israel continues to bomb. Hamas concedes, Israel continues to bomb, and then kills or attempts to kill the Politburo, the negotiators that Israel talks to. Okay.
In the immediate release of all 48 of those hostages in exchange for Israel ending its campaign to occupy Gaza City, he also wrote something of an ominous warning on Truth Social that day, saying that he's warned Hamas about the consequences of not accepting this deal, that this was his last warning, there will not be another one. So whether that was issued with the knowledge that Israel was planning this attack is a question that I think we have heading in to today as we hear more from White House officials about what exactly transpired here. The other question is what this does to the U.S.-Qatar relationship. This has been quite a critical relationship. The Qataris have spent ample time trying to cultivate President Trump and his administration over the last several months. President Trump was the first U.S. president to visit Qatar back in May. Qatar hosts the forward headquarters of CENTCOM at Al Udeid Air Base. So some critical components of the U.S. national security infrastructure housed in Qatar. And according to Qataris who have said this over the last several years, it is actually the United States who asked Qatar to host Hamas's political leadership in Doha as a venue to have these kinds of negotiations. So how all of this sort of adds up over the coming hours, I think, remains to be seen. Just one more thing. Well, if we have heard from the U.S. Embassy in Doha, they're saying that they've seen the reports of these missile strikes. They say that they've issued a shelter in place at their facilities, and they're encouraging U.S. citizens who live in the Qatari capital to shelter in place as well. So the U.S. government now advising both its employees at the embassy, but also all citizens in the Qatari capital to shelter in place as the fallout of this attack becomes known.
Yeah, it's really a serious, major development that's unfolding right now. And Kevin, a lot of people probably don't realize that the U.S. and Qatar have an extremely close military-to-military relationship. The U.S. Military Central Command, for example, has bases at the Al Udeid Air Base. A lot of Air Force personnel are there, and Camp Asaliya, as you pointed out, ground troops. That's basically a regional headquarters for the U.S. military's Central Command. There are a lot of U.S. military personnel on the ground right now in and around Doha, Qatar. So that's a significant development. We'll continue to watch and monitor that as well. We'll see if that had any impact on this Israeli decision to go ahead and target these facilities in and around Doha, Qatar, where they suspect Hamas officials may be. But these negotiations are continuing. All right, Kevin Liptak, thanks very much. Paula Hancock, Jeremy Diamond, thanks to you as well.
Yeah, and we should also note, when you look at the U.S. and Qatar relationship, it was Qatar that gifted, controversially, that luxury jet to President Trump recently to replace Air Force One. It is a close ally of the United States, so it will be interesting to hear from the White House on this. But I first want to go to CNN Chief International Correspondent Clarissa Ward, our correspondent in London. Clarissa, just talk about the significance of what's going on right now.
I mean, this is a seismic event. It's not often you read something cross the wires that makes your jaw drop, but this was certainly fall into that category. And I think what will be crucial in the coming hours is trying to ascertain Israel's claim that the U.S. was aware of this strike. How aware of the strike were they? Did they effectively condone it? And if so, what could the possible impact of that tacit acceptance of this strike be in terms of the relationship between Qatar and the U.S.? And as Kevin was just articulating, and as you and Wolf have been discussing, this is a crucial relationship for the U.S. Qatar is host to the largest U.S. base in the entire Middle East. This is a close relationship that has lasted over many different administrations. And Qatar has effectively cultivated a unique space for itself in terms of being a neutral space where these talks and negotiations between various non-state actors and states and terrorist groups can happen in a safe and sensible manner. This is not the first time, by the way. We're looking very much now at the talks between Hamas and the U.S. and Egypt and Qatar and Israel. But of course, Qatar was also host to the Taliban and was a crucial part of the U.S. navigating its withdrawal from Afghanistan and essentially forming some kind of a dialogue between the U.S. and the Taliban that without an interlocutor like Qatar would be.
I mean, not stopping Israel at any given point it has allowed them to do this. Not stopping Israel after this is going to allow them to do whatever the fuck they want and continue to blow up whatever country they want to. I'm telling you, dude, like the way this is going, Israel is going to fucking blow up an American citizen on U.S. soil openly, not in some like act of espionage or whatever, just openly. And then the American government is going to apologize to Israel. Israel's on track to break the post-war nuke taboo sooner rather than later. There's nothing stopping them. It'll be a jailable offense in the West, a hate crime to publicly oppose Israel nuking countries. Yeah. It is completely belligerent. It is an insane nuclear armed nation state that we have complete power over, and we're just not reining them in at all. Bro, I'm from Oman. Should I be scared? I mean, Oman is the same as Qatar. It's like the two separate neutral states in the region where these kinds of negotiations are taking place. I don't know. I don't even think Turkey is fucking safe. And Turkey's a NATO nation. I don't know. I don't know what to say anymore. Like, I don't think I'm being that crazy when I say if left unchecked, and it seems like they are going to be left unchecked because they're openly posturing that this is a good thing, that they did it, and they think it's awesome that they did this. I don't know. Israel can do whatever the fuck it wants, and America will never fucking, it seems.
Effectively impossible. And I think the question now becomes, beyond the sort of U.S. Qatar of it, what does this mean for these negotiations at such a crucial point in this conflict? Do they effectively...
Dude, they targeted a fucking terrorist. What do you want them... what do you want? Send them a party? Dude, what the fuck are you talking about? They targeted a terrorist. As long as there are dumb fuck Americans that have just been this lobotomized, I mean, that's another part of the reason why you could just like get away with whatever the fuck you want to do. Dog, they're the negotiators, okay? Just because Israel calls them a terrorist doesn't mean that they actually are. Ironically enough, Israel is the terrorist here. Both in this action, violating all norms, all rules, okay? This is like, you need to understand, a country that is this belligerent, that is this willing to blow up a major American ally where the central command is, okay, for its entire, the central command is for its entire operations in the Middle East, a country that is willing to blow up the host nation's capital can kill anyone anywhere without any scrutiny whatsoever. Okay? That's it. It is completely fucking insane. The people that they killed are diplomats, dumbass. The people that they killed or tried to kill and failed to kill were unironically people that were in the conversation with Israel trying to set up a ceasefire negotiation. Yeah, they attacked a residential building in a residential neighborhood in the city and killed only civilians. These are not armed combatants. These are not armed combatants in the act of war, engaging in an act of war. These are diplomats. They killed citizens. They killed diplomats, or they tried to attempt to kill diplomats that are not actually combatants at all. And the way that the strike was conducted was through perfidy. Again, another war crime. But it doesn't really matter. Like, people say, oh, well, America's capital, like America's decency has run out in this region. Like, I think it ran out a long time ago, man. These guys just know that you can't trust the Americans. and you obviously can't trust Israel, but there's nothing that anybody can do in this situation. When America says, oh, there's a ceasefire proposal, get together and discuss it, it just means Israel's going to blow up the fucking area where you're discussing it. A not so hypothetical is that Israel attacks press and influencers, and if they happen to be people who Trump does not like, the Trump administration will accept, like in Turkey. Yeah. Would it be justified if Russia shot missiles at Athens, Greece, because Putin said there was a Ukrainian terrorist there and subsequently killed 100 innocent Greeks? Would you be cool with that because he used the term terrorist? No, of course he wouldn't be cool with that. And this is happening on the heels of a genocide that it's conducting too. So it's like there is no end to this violence. There is no end to this bloodshed. Did that chatter even respond to what I'm saying at all or no? Like, as long as you can slap the terrorism sticker on whoever the fuck Israel's trying to kill, it's fine. One day it'll be you.
End for the moment? Do they move to a different location? Do we see Qatar try to launch some kind of a retaliation? I'm not even talking about a military retaliation, but some kind of a very strong diplomatic retaliation at Israel. What does that look like? And does it effectively torpedo these efforts, which had been ostensibly, according to multiple sources, gathering some momentum recently to try to push towards some permanent end, at least a temporary stop to the fighting in Gaza? Pamela?
All right, Clarissa Ward, thank you so much. I know that you're working the phones right now trying to gather more information. We appreciate it.
And I've spent a lot of time in and around Doha, Qatar, at the Camp Asaliya base, as well as the El Udeid Air Base, and this relationship between the U.S. military's Central Command and the Qatari military is very close. It's a key regional ally of the U.S., and it will have more on the impact of how this Israeli strike is going to impact all of that.
Sure. Well, I have a statement to read for all of you with respect.
Yeah, here is the White House's response after they concocted this fucking bullshit. They're saying like, oh, this is a great opportunity once again to find a reasonable conclusion to this. Trump posted personally as well, but
to the Israeli strike in Doha, and here it is. This morning, the Trump administration was notified by the United States military that as Israel was attacking Hamas, which very unfortunately was located in a section of Doha, the capital of Qatar. Unilaterally bombing inside Qatar, a sovereign nation and close ally of the United States that is working very hard and bravely taking risks with us to broker peace, does not advance Israel or America's goals. However, eliminating Hamas, who have profited off the misery of those living in Gaza, is a worthy goal. President Trump immediately directed Special Envoy Witkoff to inform the Qataris of the impending attack, which he did. The president views Qatar as a strong ally and friend of the United States and feels very badly about the location of this attack. President Trump wants all...
I do need you to understand something, because this is not just a violation of like current norms, current rules, the rules of warfare, okay? Like contemporary rules of war in the international rule-based order have been violated by Israel in egregious ways forever, okay? But what they did here is literally a rule that has existed since antiquity. Okay? When you watch like a movie about, I don't know, fucking warring factions or tribes or whatever, you'll sometimes see an envoy, right? An envoy from the opposing belligerent side that goes and walks up to the fucking gates of the the gates of the fucking kingdom and says like, I'm here with a message, a diplomatic message. Okay. Those guys don't get killed. Don't shoot the messenger is a trope, a colloquialism that like we understand. Okay. It's like Israel is not just violating like the current existing international rules of war. They have already been doing that every single day. Now they're just violating like standards that were set in conflict in times of antiquity, okay? Except 300, except Braveheart, but yeah, okay, guys, those are, again, movies in general, but like, I'm not saying that has never happened in history. I'm saying that there is a standard set for decent reasons in since forever. Okay? What the fuck are we talking about? This is considered like a barbaric thing to do by standards set by fucking tribesmen. Okay? What the fuck?
All of the hostages in Gaza and the bodies of the dead released, and this war to end now. President Trump also spoke to Prime Minister Netanyahu after the attack. The Prime Minister told President Trump that he wants to make peace, and quickly. President Trump believes this unfortunate incident could serve as an opportunity for peace. The president also spoke to the Emir and Prime Minister of Qatar and thanked them for their support and friendship to our country. He assured them that such a thing will not happen again on their soil.
And to be clear, the president disagrees with the location of the strike and that he passed that along to Prime Minister Netanyahu.
The president just confirmed that in the statement that I just read to you, which I spoke with him about before coming out here.
Jackie.
Thank you, Caroline. So is the president upset with Netanyahu now?
The president made his thoughts and concerns about this very clear, and he spoke again both to Prime Minister Netanyahu and also the Emir and the Prime Minister of Qatar after this attack. And the president has always made it very clear that he wants peace in the Middle East, just like he sought that and accomplished that in his first term. He expects all of our allies and friends in the region, that includes both Qatar and Israel, to seek peace as well. And he wants to see that happen, and he's working with all of our allies in the region to get that done.
Are there any consequences, so to speak, for Netanyahu doing this, as it sounds, against the president's wishes, or at least his belief that it was appropriate? Is there going to be any directive from the president to Netanyahu in terms of, and also, is there any concern this could jeopardize the Abraham Accords?
Look, that's a decision only the president can make. With respect to your first question, to answer your second question, as you heard from the president, he said he believes that this can serve as an opportunity for peace, and he's still actively and aggressively pursuing it with all of our allies and partners in the region. Jennifer?
Just to follow up on that, Caroline, are you able to say
aggressively? What is not an opportunity for aggressively pursuing peace? You know, everything is an opportunity for aggressively pursuing peace. What an incredible way. What an incredible way to fucking aggressively pursue peace over and over again. This is becoming a Trump signature move, the same modus operandi he used with Iran and now deployed against Hamas, pretending he wanted to engage in diplomacy as a trap to facilitate bombing them, which reinforces the precedent. Engaging in diplomacy with the U.S. is now worse than useless. It's fatal, which is a precedent that's bad for everyone. The U.S. first and foremost. Not exactly in its interest to teach the lesson, never negotiate with America. Even in medieval Europe, in the darkest days of the so-called Dark Ages, rulers were honor-bound not to violate diplomatic immunity, and common sense bound too, as they understood it wasn't in their interest to be known as oath breakers. Heck, even the Mongols, not exactly known as sentimental humanitarians, understood that killing envoys was idiotic. When the U.S. is failing a moral test that the Mongol Empire passed, it's time to ask ourselves a few questions. Yeah, exactly. Even the various barbarian tribes of European antiquity consider the killing of envoys to be dishonorable, loathsome, an insult to the gods. Israel and the United States are beneath even this standard of civilization now. Like, dudes that could have gotten one-shotted by a chicken nugget had a better understanding of fucking not killing envoys because it's like so stupid to do so than Israel and the United States of America. What are we doing? We like to think of ourselves as so above that standard because we have all this technology, this endless bounty in the Western world, how civilized we are. We wear suits. We shower with regular frequency. And then we just assume that our moral code is way better than these fucking dudes. And seemingly, no, it's not actually.
How often the president spoke to the Prime Minister of Israel before this, because he That's one question. And then what did he mean on Sunday when he posted, "I've given my last warning to Hamas, etc." He wasn't talking about this strike on Doha?
No, he was not. As I told you, the Trump administration was notified by the United States military that Israel was attacking Hamas, and the president spoke to the prime minister after the attack, as well as, again, the emir and the prime minister of Qatar. And I know Secretary Rubio and Special Envoy Witkoff were present for that call with the Qataris as well.
Minister, my name is...
All right. Before we get to the Qatar foreign minister, U.S. not informed Qatar before Israel strike. Yeah, once again, this means for the Gulf leaders, what is the value of an American security umbrella in hosting U.S. base on your soil if the United States itself conspires to attack you? That is a question that all GCC leaders are asking themselves today, given that they have to put all their security eggs in one basket, in the U.S. basket. It should have been clear to them for some time now that this day would come, since the U.S. has, since October 7, lifted all constraints on Israel. Of course, will they do that? Absolutely not. Do I believe that they will actually reconsider? Fuck no. Because these guys, all they care about is maintaining their security contracts and the guns that they get from the American government. And no matter how aggressive Israel gets towards them, they'll fly out. They'll fly out to the fucking European capitals with the hopes that, like, you know, it'll go away. With the hopes that, like, eventually people will forget this deep shame that they should be experiencing right now, this deep insecurity that they've caused. Yeah, we have a military in Al Udeid, which is like 20 minutes from Doha. Makes no sense. Of course. Isn't it much worse that the U.S. wasn't informed? It's bullshit. That's a fucking lie, dude. What do you mean? Trump says, this was a decision made by Prime Minister Netanyahu. It was not a decision made by me. I immediately directed Special Envoy Steve Witkoff to inform the Qataris of the impending attack, which he did. However, unfortunate, too late to stop the attack. This morning, what? Yet you refuse? What is this? I was there when it happened. I was with the internal forces. They were unaware and reacted as the bombs hit. I've been told Patriot defense systems Qatar bought were turned off remotely. What do you mean? I was there when it happened. I was with the internal forces. It was the Patriot systems that were turned off apparently remotely. They were reacting as the bombs hit. The government had no idea. I was there. The U.S. apparently turned off the Patriot systems. I was with the internal forces. They were all unaware of the bombs and only reacted when it happened. It's not a... First of all, it's not even a sabotage in that situation. It's just like, it's just America using Qatar as a fucking sleeve, basically, like a cum sock. I think it's highly unlikely that the government of Qatar had no prior knowledge whatsoever that they were about to buy Israel. Especially, but the United States definitely knew. I don't know if the Qatari government knew, okay? Or I don't know how many people in the government knew. I suspect that some did, okay? But America definitely knew. I think we all are aware of that, right? Like, America very clearly knew exactly what the fuck was up. There is no way, there's 0% chance that they did not know. It's fucking bullshit. This morning, the Trump administration was notified by the United States military that Israel was attacking Hamas, which very unfortunately was located in a section of Doha, the capital of Qatar. This was a decision made by Prime Minister Netanyahu. It was not a decision made by me. Unilaterally bombing inside of Qatar, a sovereign nation, a close ally to the United States that is working very hard and bravely taking risks with us to broker peace, does not advance Israel or America's goals. This is not written by Trump, by the way. There's no way. This is a Joe Biden style press release in the aftermath of yet another fucking red line that has been violated. Okay? Anyway, I don't believe it even for a second. However, eliminating Hamas, who have profited off the misery of those living in Gaza, is a worthy goal. I immediately directed Special Envoy Steve Witkoff to inform the Qataris of the impending attack, which he did. Unfortunately, too late to stop the attack. I view Qatar... What do you mean, stop the attack? What would that imply? So you were going to direct the Qatar anti-aircraft defense systems that are ours, our Patriot defense systems, to blow up Israeli planes? That's because that's how you stop that attack. Is that what you're implying? that fair is fair, that you could have fucking melted some of the Israeli Air Force F-35s that you sold Israel with the weapons that you placed in Doha? Because understand that it's both parties here are backed with American arms to the fucking teeth, okay? What an absurd statement. So they know this is going to escalate to all-out war, right? No, it's not. And I don't think it will, because I'm not a nothing ever happens type of person. But the reason why I don't think this will escalate into all-out war is because Qatar is a holdover state, much like many of these other fucking Gulf states, that is simply it's not real. It's not a real state. It doesn't have like real sovereignty. They're just run by a bunch of rich guys who want to fucking purchase real estate in London and shit. And that's it. They're not going to do anything. They're going to eat it. They're going to tank it. You're telling me Bibi is just striking without consulting his pay-pick daddy? No, of course Bibi is striking with the consultation of his pay-pick daddy. But most of these countries, especially like Gulf states, their leadership and their population are directly at odds on this issue. And the only thing that would change this dynamic is if there was like genuine revolt. And a lot of these Gulf states already are too tiny. Like, they're very wealthy, and most of the nationals are like the actual citizens. The nationals are a tiny, minuscule percentage of the population. Okay? You have to remember that. Like, most of these countries actually have an overwhelming majority population of like foreign workers. So in places like Jordan, there is more there's a bigger opportunity for rebellion and revolt. In places like Egypt, there's a bigger opportunity for rebellion and revolt, as opposed to like a place like Qatar, as opposed to the UAE, as opposed to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Or are you saying he's hoping? I'm interested in whether Trump is actually doing this to cause war, though. I just don't understand the motivation. Or are you saying he's hoping for destabilizing the countries? No, it's just to make Israel's dominance in this area permanent. Okay? Israel is America's hammer, and it can do whatever the fuck it wants. It's a warning, not against Qatar, mind you. It's a warning against Turkey, I think. Because Turkey, as a loyal servant of U.S. empire, has taken the initiative and played an incredibly important role in redesigning the current state of Syria. Okay? So what Israel is doing here is not even an attack against Qatar. It's more so a threat against Turkey because of Turkey's own ambitions in Syria. I think Syria is going to heat up quite a bit in the upcoming month. That's what I think. There's already been a lot of conflict in Syria. Insane mental gymnastics to bring it back to Turkey, or maybe I just know more than you do about this region. Israel wants to be America's servant in the region. Israel wants to be the only domineering power in the region. Turkey presents a threat to that because Turkey Turkey has interest in controlling Syria. So does Israel. They are at odds with one another, even though they're both a part of America's grand design in the region. Record. Before people say, "Oh, what's Hasan talking about?" Let's take a look at I-24 English.
And Harel, when you look at the reaction specifically out of Iran, interesting wording from the foreign ministry saying Israel's attack on Hamas officials in Qatar is dangerous and a violation of international law. Your thoughts about the kind of reaction one might see out of Tehran specifically, not Doha itself?
I think it's another major blow for Iranian efforts in the area. Basically, a full collapse of Iran's strategy in the Middle East, in the Arab Middle East, I would say, and the Hamas and this leadership was basically the last pillar of this policy, and therefore I'm pretty sure that in Tehran, regardless of their ridiculous terminology, as if they are number one peacekeepers of the world, I think it's a major blow the final, or even maybe the final note. We need to wait, of course, but definitely a serious development from their point of view in the strategy that was basically orchestrated by Qasem.
What? Any strike on Turkey by Israel wouldn't trigger Article 5? That talking point is bullshit. NATO would just condemn Israel? Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, you'll see. If it were to happen, you'll see. You'll see how much worth there is for Article 5. Sammy Gold says, a reminder that if Israel attacks Turkey, the U.S. is, by law, forced to strike Israel with the support of every other member of NATO. Not going to happen. Hold on. Tarek Kene Shawa says, either Israel acted alone, meaning Washington cannot guarantee any country's security from Israeli threats, or Israel closely coordinated their attack with the U.S., meaning Washington will willingly let Israel violate the sovereignty of any country it chooses. It's the latter. Qatar hosts the largest U.S. military base in the region, gifted a plane to Trump, and was specifically asked to host Hamas officials for mediation purposes. If the U.S. still won't guarantee Qatar's sovereignty and security after all that, then what is a U.S. guarantee worth? It's worth nothing.
Late Qasem Soleimani, but now we see that it brought only a disaster for Iran, their loss of investment, and so on and so forth.
How worried would you think Recep Tayyip Erdogan would be watching all these developments in Doha? It is well known that Hamas leaders are also hosted in Turkey, of course.
Well, that's a very good point, because I think the message here to Turkey is pretty clear. There is no place on earth that Israel is avoiding from attacking if it needs. The whole reason why we didn't attack them until today was just a matter of decision making. We gave it a try because it had an instrumental role. We wanted to see if they can help or if it can serve the purpose of hostages. It did to a certain point, as we know. But that's it. They don't. It doesn't serve us anymore, and therefore, Qatar is not immune to Israeli attacks. And the message to Erdogan should definitely be the same. If you will harbor terror, Israel will not avoid from attacking this terror on your.
Yeah. This is also correct. If Israel attacks Turkey with no retribution, then the Article 5 any weight, especially at a time when NATO's biggest military power has a president who's reticent on committing forces to NATO. NATO would become as relevant as a non-aligned movement, nothing stopping Russia from taking over the Baltic states with full impunity. This guy is delusional for saying, honestly, losing Turkey wouldn't hurt NATO that much. It's the second largest standing military in NATO after the American military. And it is also a major player, a major role player in the fucking region for America's grand design. Syria would not have fallen, and the new Syrian government would not have been propped up if it wasn't for Turkey. They played a much more formative role there than fucking Israel did. These guys are so dumb. Turkey hosts American nukes, man. Are you fucking stupid? I mean, the answer is yes, they are. I personally think it's bad. NATO involvement is bad in general anyway, so I don't have a fucking, I mean, you know, you'll see. You'll see how much America wants to defend its NATO allies.
Land.
Hasan, I'm curious how you approach the audience being shocked about the intangibility of international institutional laws, norms, etc., versus the underlying power dynamics that have always been at work. Is it important for chatters to move past the idea that laws and social contracts, etc., are real so they can better prepare for where things are going? Yeah, I mean, it is the law of the jungle. It's been the law of the jungle, but it's absolutely the law of the jungle now, more than ever. Israeli security source to Al-Hadath, Turkey is trying to harass us and drag us into a military confrontation. This is from fucking 8 hours ago. That we do not fear, but do not want. And the Homs airstrike targeted Turkish weapons depots. What is this? It was Turkey who warned the Qataris? I don't know about that. But it wouldn't be surprising to me if that was the case. It wouldn't be surprising to me if that was the case, because Turkey is also incredibly invested in Qatar as well. Like, Qatar is a holdover state. It's mostly comprised of I mean, America has tremendous influence over Qatar, but so does Turkey. Don't Turkey got nukes? Yeah, American nukes in Incirlik. We'll see.
Well, let's bring in now the former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett. Mr. Bennett, thank you very much for joining us here on the programme. And we've just read that statement from the Emir of Qatar, who has said this is a flagrant violation of its sovereignty and security and a breach of international law. This is a blatant disregard for international law, isn't it?
No, international law starts with the duty to defend your citizens. And I want to say that international law does not provide immunity for ARC terrorists and the masterminds of terror attacks, wherever they are. We'll get to any terrorist wherever he may be.
Well, in fact, international law is very explicit. No state may attack another without Security Council approval or a case of direct self-defense. So, frankly, you didn't seek any of those approvals. You've gone into sovereign territory, crossed the skies and launched this strike on a sovereign state.
You know, when the U.S. went out and took out Osama bin Laden in Pakistan, they didn't notify Pakistan in advance. That was also a sovereign country. You have to do this in order to eradicate terror.
Brother, the United States wasn't in active negotiations with Osama bin Laden at the time. Like, and what the fuck? He just said we kill whoever we please, whenever and wherever on the planet, and there's nothing you can say about it. That's all he said.
These are the people who control Hamas in Gaza, control Hamas in Israel. They are responsible for yesterday's attack, where Hamas took responsibility for the killing of 6 civilians in Jerusalem at a bus station. So a terrorist is still a terrorist, even if he sips tea at a 5-star hotel in Doha.
So you're saying basically that sovereignty is negotiable. International law is just a thing of paper. Diplomacy, these sorts of things don't actually matter, because we know that for the last 20 plus months since October 7, Israeli officials have traveled to Doha a number of times, sat in hotels where Hamas was in another wing of that hotel and negotiated with their Qatari counterparts. How can they now trust Israel?
I don't need them to trust Israel. Qatar is a terror state. Doha is a terror capital. And we know that for the past...
Yeah, again, you can just say they're all terrorists. They're all terrorists. That's it. Qatar is a terrorist state. Everybody's a terrorist state.
25 years, they've been planning terror attacks from Doha. They've been acting them. They've been sponsoring terror and funneling billions of dollars to Muslim Brotherhood terrorists and to Quds terrorists of the Shiite. They're the only ones who support financially both Shiite and Sunnite terror. So I don't need their approval. I don't need them to love me. I need to protect our people.
Well, the United States, they're...
Bro, you're the terrorist. I don't know what else. This is terror speak, okay? This is terrorism language. You're a terrorist. You are terrorizing everybody. This is an act of terror that you're defending. You are the terrorist. What more to say? It's fucking insane. If left unchecked, this level of fucking Islamophobia is I'm telling you, they're gonna fucking kill. They're gonna kill so many more people. They're gonna bomb so many more areas. And America's just going to continue supporting it every single step of the way. Holy fuck.
Ally of the United States. They have the US has military bases in Qatar, and frankly, as far as keeping terrorists there, it was the United States under President Barack Obama who asked the government of Qatar and the Emir of Qatar to have the Hamas office there. So pointing the finger of blame at Qatar in this instance for housing Hamas.
Would there be anything that is too far for U.S. support? I don't think so. If you asked me like 2 years ago, I would have said like this. I would have said this. If you asked me 2 years ago, I would have been like, yeah, maybe like, I don't know, blowing up other countries like that are under the security umbrella of the United States. I would say that was probably a bridge too far, and it's gone. It's over. I mean, they assassinated Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran, which is a foreign adversary, right? Like in the past, They did this to Ismail Haniyeh, the principal negotiator at the time, and they did it in Iran. That was a major escalation, but at least it was done on the foreign soil of a foreign adversary, right? Now they're blowing up allies. Like, this is, I don't know what else to say. Putting bombs in cell phones? No, like Lebanon, no amount of cruelty that Israel subjects other neighboring countries that are not as like firmly committed to the American security is going to be unjustifiable. Like the Beeper bombing attacks, that is obviously a fucking act of terror. It's a war crime, all that stuff. But like, that's still well within the realm of like American appetite for death and destruction. Attacking Qatar, a country that houses 10,000 U.S. soldiers, that has U.S. Central Command, smack dab in the middle of the fucking nation, is a new violation. Israel has assassinated Hamas Politburo chiefs already. You know this. They did it. They did it to Ismail Haniyeh, but they did it in Iran. He was in Doha the entire time. There's a reason why they didn't do it in fucking Doha. This is basically Israel saying, we can target whoever we want, wherever we want, and America will let it happen. Even when it is against America's interests, ostensibly. Even if it's like a country that has a shit ton of American military members. I think the one step beyond this would be attacking a NATO country openly, not through like a sophisticated like terror assassination style situation, but like just like openly, flagrantly violating international norms even further, and just like hitting a NATO country, Turkey, okay, because it's right there. And then one step beyond that would be hitting European allies, which they've already entertained. I mean, they struck the previous flotilla off the coast of Malta. Okay. They did do that already. They didn't kill anybody, but like they did do that. And the next step past that would be just like assassinating, I don't know, citizens or maybe even the leadership of a European ally, post-NATO, like post-NATO ally, and then even assassinating American citizens in the United States of America. That's where it goes. That's where this goes. If you don't fucking put an end to this madness, if you don't put an end to and stop this madness, like, why wouldn't they? It's clear that America won't punish Israel for doing this shit.
When it was, in fact, the US president who asked them to do that.
No, but I'm talking about much more than just harboring. I'm telling you that, first of all, we attacked Hamas. Hamas is our target. We didn't attack the Qatari leadership or anything of that sort. But I want to be very clear that if you take responsibility yesterday for killing 6 citizens, you're not immune just because you're at another location. You can't kill Israelis. You can no longer kill Jews and think that you can get away with it wherever you may be.
I'm telling you, I think they're just like, I think they're insane. I think they've lost their fucking minds, dude. I think they've lost their fucking minds. They are just a totally belligerent, insane state with nuclear weapons, and America has to fucking rein it in. If they don't, oh my God, I don't know. I don't know where this goes.
So, Mr. Bennett, when the US tells the Emir of Qatar or attempts to, reassure him that this kind of thing won't happen
again. It all flows from Jewish supremacy and domination. And I say this as a Jew in parentheses in case anyone thinks I'm talking about Nazi dog whistles. No, it is. It is a supremacist. I mean, it's fascism. Of course, it's fascism. This is why I say Zionism is fascism. Because at its root, it is firmly committed to the belief, the false notion that like Jews are the in-group, the chosen group, the Aryan, the Volk in this regard, that can kill whoever with no consequence whatsoever. And it is a poisonous ideology that has taken root and has reached its logical conclusion. If left unchecked, this is precisely what happens. As an American, I abhor all versions of fascism, all versions of supremacist ideology. This is precisely why I attack white supremacy with regular frequency. Because if left unchecked, this is what happens. And in many respects, it already is here for Americans, the white supremacist notions. as an American crying. I mean, it's true. I'm an American citizen.
And are you saying he's in fact lying?
No, that's what you're saying. I'm not saying that.
No, he's told the Emir of Qatar this is not going to happen again. You're saying wherever Hamas is, we're going to go after them. So you would attack Qatar again.
Yeah, Swift W help is correct. They will stop with Gaza, just like Germany stopped with Poland, which is to imply that they will not stop with Gaza. It is that much is clear. And anyone who doesn't understand that is deluding themselves. It's not like Israel is hiding its ambition. Its genocidal ambition is very clear. Its project of developing greater Israel, which implies further incursions into Syria and even Jordan and Lebanon, is also something that Benjamin Netanyahu has openly addressed. That's it.
I'm not going to say what we're going to do or not going to do. I will tell every terrorist on earth
you said we will do it again.
Let me be clear. Any terrorist on earth who's planning to murder Israelis, planning to murder Jews, will be killed if necessary. Nothing will be a safe haven for terrorists who want to murder my people.
And that is the position of the Israeli government, regardless of what the US president is saying, that this won't happen to the Qataris again.
I don't think the U.S. president says that you can go murder Israelis and get away with it. He himself said that these. Let me finish the sentence. President Trump today, after the attack, said through his spokespeople that the Hamas.
To be clear, since some chatters are confused, I'm not saying it has anything to do with the merits of the religion of Judaism itself. I'm talking specifically about how Judaism has been viewed by Israel specifically to justify every stage of these atrocities. Yes, it's Zionism, not Judaism, that is an ethno-religious supremacist ideology. Zionism at its root, just like every other version of fascism, believes that there is an in-group that is the domineering force. That is the powerful force that must exterminate all of its enemies. Their enemies are not real humans. Their enemies are not humans at all. They're just a parasitic force. A parasitic force that must be excised. And that is precisely what is going on here. Everyone could just be considered a terrorist, no matter who they are.
Leadership.
He did, in fact, but he also spoke in the last hour or so with the Emir of Qatar. They've put out a statement saying that the US president has told them this isn't going to happen.
Look, what I can tell you is my message, our message, is that the days where you can go around murdering and raping and burning Israelis, let me remind you, it was Hamas who attacked Israel on October 7th.
Oh my God, this motherfucker is still talking about October 7th, bro. Jesus Christ, dude. Oh my God. Oh my God. Nothing that led up to October 7 justifies October 7, and everything post October 7 is justified because of October 7. That's the argument, always. I don't even think he fucking believes this. It's just, he just wants to literally kill as many people as possible. And it's a nuisance to him that he even has to justify it. It's like, who the fuck are you? Maybe you're the next terror target. Have you considered that? You're speaking quite a bit like you are also about to be victim to Israel's self-defense style situations against Hamas.
Burning, raping, murdering 1,200 Israelis. Right now, Hamas is holding 48 hostages, of which 20 are alive and being tortured.
Oh, shut the fuck up, dude. Jesus fucking Christ. Oh, we are so cucked, dude. America is so fucking... I mean, it's not necessarily that America's even that cucked, to be fair. It's just that, like, America doesn't give a shit. They're cucked in the sense that, like, they think this can continue. They think this can just continue forever. And this statement from the Trump administration is a perfect demonstration of this. It's like this fake... oh, we didn't know about this beforehand, but also it's not so bad that they did this. This is exactly the same thing that Biden said as well. Okay? This is the exact same thing that Biden kept repeating over and over again. Oh, I can't believe this. You know, this is a violation, but also it's kind of valid that they did it, and more of that should happen. And that's why we're going to keep sending Israel weapons and offer Israel protective cover, and also attack all of Israel's enemies. Yeah. Moen Rabbani says, it seems Trump is taking a page out of the Biden playbook. Play dumb, act surprised, insist Israel acted without Washington's knowledge or authorization, feign anger, and hope it hoodwinks all concerned. Do I think Israel will attack quote-unquote terrorists on U.S. soil? Not yet. Or at least at this stage, I don't think. I think Turkey is a more direct target. Young Holo, thank you for the 25 gifted subs. I told you, they will, I mean, the order of priority, like the expansion of the permission structure goes as follows. Okay? Obviously, striking Doha is an expansion of the pre-existing permission structure. After that, you strike Turkey, okay, a NATO nation that would trigger Article 5. No Article 5 triggering will happen. Then you move on to European civilians or maybe even like other officials. If there is no checks or balances in that regard, no scaling back. And then America. So it's not, I don't think it'll get to that point, but who knows? Who knows? Yeah, he says, I view Qatar as a strong ally and friend of the U.S., and I feel very badly about the location of the attack. I want all the hostages and the bodies of the dead released, and this war to end now. I also spoke to Prime Minister Netanyahu after the attack. The Prime Minister told me that he wants to make peace. I believe this unfortunate incident could serve as an opportunity for peace. I also spoke to the Emir and the Prime Minister of Qatar and thanked them for their support and friendship to our country. I assured them that such a thing will not happen again on their own soil. Well, Naftali Bennett said it will happen again, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. I've directed the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, to finalize the defense cooperation agreement with Qatar. Thank you for your attention to this matter. What is even the long-term plan in this? The long-term plan in this is that every single country in the region is supposed to be openly servile to Israel's interests, which it kind of is already. And it's a complete, the genocide of the Palestinians will finalize. They'll also permanently and completely annex the West Bank and ethnically cleanse all the Palestinians there. Then they'll move on to further and further Syrian territory until they capture the entirety of Syria. And then they'll do southern Lebanon as well. And then they'll do Jordan as well. And then they'll slowly but surely move back to the Sinai Peninsula and the rest of Egypt. And every step of the way we'll go, how could this have happened? How is this happening? I guess we just can't stop it, okay, until the Greater Israel Project is finalized. America will allow it to happen every step of the way because a stronger Israel, a more dominant military power, a more dominant Israel without any enemies whatsoever, Iran, Yemen, obviously they'll get packed up along the way. Destabilization will take place. A stronger Israel is better for control over OPEC plus. How the fuck do they think they have the population to do this? They don't. They're fascist. It's like Nazi Germany. Why the fuck did they invade Russia in the middle of the winter? They're not thinking. They're just horny for death and destruction and complete and utter domination of all of their enemies because all of their enemies are cattle. They're not human. That's it. They're inferior beings. It's a fucking death cult. Why do I say fascism is a death cult all the time? Why do I say it's a suicidal pact all the time? You sound like Alex Jones? Really? It's interesting because when I said Israel's plan was genocide on October 7th, people said I sound like Alex Jones back then. Also, I'm not saying this is going to happen. Obviously, there will be more pushback along the way. I don't know exactly how or where. I just don't believe that it's going to come from the United States of America until they recalculate their unlimited support for Israel. Yeah, fantastic stuff. Here, let's hear what the Qatar foreign minister said.
Najib Abu Jubair from Associated Press. My question is, the circumstances and situation that we're living in Doha, like everybody is shocked for what's happened today, but again, what is the role that Qatar will do after the Israeli escalation in this region, and what is the effect on the truce deal or the hostage deal and the talks with Hamas and other, especially Qatar is not playing one role in the region, it's playing many different roles in this area.
I'm sorry, if you are talking specifically about the talks on Gaza, Qatar has spared no effort in order to stop this war and will do whatever it can to stop this war, to stop this hostility on Gaza. Now, when it comes to the current talks, I don't think there is something valid right now while after we're seeing such an attack happening like this.
السؤال الثالث الجزيرة الإنجليزية. Rasul Sadar from Al Jazeera English. Sir, has there been any communication between Qatar and the U.S. prior to the attacks, or has there been any warning from the United States conveyed to Qatari officials? Or, based on your information, has there been any involvement of the United States, whether with the approval or with the knowledge?
We had a very, first of all, the first part of your question, I have just answered it. The attack happened at 3:46. The first call we had from an American official was at 3:56, which is 10 minutes after the attack. And after that, President Trump has...
By the way, this is showing once again that, like, these countries do not have a sovereign military. That's the other thing. Because all of the anti-aircraft systems that they have, all the beautiful American weapons that are supposed to be protecting these Gulf nations, all of that is just up to the United States of America and I guess maybe Israel. It's under the control of the U.S. and under the control of Israel. That's it. This is something that I have mentioned over and over and over again when talking about NATO as well. America's security cooperation agreements are actually just the 800 military bases that are currently being reflected as security cooperation agreements is actually just 800 military invasions. The only difference there is the soft power initiatives that make it so that the governments of said countries are aligned with the United States because they feel like they are under the security blanket of the United States. This proves that it's not a real security operation whatsoever, that if the United States or if Israel chooses to attack you, then your weapons shut off mysteriously.
Spoken with His Highness the Emir, he condemned the attack, and the U.S. government position that they have no knowledge about the attack nor any coordination about it until it started to happen. Now, when they got the alert, when the alert has reached us, that's an information that I don't know right now. What I know that the official channels that we have with the U.S. Got notified by the U.S. after the attack with 10 minutes.
السؤال الرابع والأخير. It is highly unlikely Turkey would be aimed at any at this point or any future point. This war around Palestine was enabled by Russia occupying Europe heavily in their war with Ukraine. Turkey has mandated several anti-Israel rulings, hence the rhetoric outburst towards them. Yeah, Turkey's rhetorical outrage against Israel has only stayed at the point of rhetoric. Turkey, if it wanted to, could shut off all of the Azeri oil and gas going into Israel. They do not. As long as the Israeli energy grid continues, that means that Turkey is not taking the initiative to truly stop Israel and punish Israel. And the reason why